So when Dan Orlovsky goes out on Sunday and he says that Kevin Stefanski is a phenomenal coach, and if he were fired, he'd be hired tomorrow. Is that a threat to Browns fans anymore?
No, I think that went out the window.
Like, I got to tell you, I don't think that he got the type of response. Now, guys, I know we famously have, this is the home of Bill Must Go, Bill Must Go. I know that. Who was the guy who was chanting Bill Must Stay on the old
Pat McCabe?
Pat McCabe, that's right. He was doing Bill Must Stay. But it's not the threat that he thinks it is anymore. Like, there was a time, it's like, yeah, he would get hired tomorrow. I think a lot of people look at it and go, yeah, okay. As of now, yeah, all right. Because what I'm worried about, and, you brought this up with his post-game press conference. I didn't think it was as incendiary as you did. I didn't pick up the vibes that you did. But, when it's only a 4.5, 5-minute press conference in the post-game, maybe you have a point there. Maybe that's the point where Jimmy was looking, going, hey, we're out here in London. We lost this game. This is not good to just be out there for 4.5 or 5 minutes and not really be given answers. That was a thought you brought up yesterday morning. Things are starting to change. And my worry is that when I go back to that decision that was made yesterday, and by the way, Lance Reisland, who's a phenomenal coach, who joins Afternoon Drive, I think it's 6 today, you're going to want to listen because I think he disagrees with me. And I want to hear his point of view on it because he's texted, and I want to make sure I hear him before there's a back and forth. Because I had said, hey, Kevin didn't take care of the team. I thought he did what he could to take care of Dylan Gabriel on Sunday, but I don't think he did what he could to take care of the team. And you're still the head coach of the football team, and that means you're a game manager. And you have to manage the entire team. And you did not give your defense. The defense still may have given up a touchdown, and I could go out here and rip Jim Schwartz all day long yesterday morning. Or I could go out there and rip the defense or the players or whatever. Delpit, Miles, whatever you want to say. Maybe it would have worked out that way. But when you commit to 2 runs, and then you do what you did on third down, you're desperate to win. You're afraid. You're coaching, I think, because you're afraid to lose that game because you're up 17-14. And I think you called a very conservative game plan for Dylan Gabriel, which starts to draw me conclusions of going, did you really want to play Dylan Gabriel? Because if you were having Dylan Gabriel in there, which I think you probably played him before you wanted to play him, if I'm thinking about Kevin, why did you ever get rid of Kenny Pickett then? But that's a conversation that unravels at another part of the show, right? I go back to Kevin and I think you didn't do what was right by the entire team, and that makes me wonder on a 7-hour flight back, that defense has held it together for 10 straight games that they have not been able to score over 20 points. And I don't care who the offensive coordinator was, you're still the head coach, you're still supposed to be the offensive guy. And if you don't have the power with it, then damn it, there needs to be some assertion of power there because you're the 2-time coach of the year. I know, yeah. You're supposed to be that guy. You're not. There's a problem. And when Dan Orlovsky tweets at people that, well, if you go ahead and you fire him and you see what happens, I think a lot of Browns fans are going, yeah, I'd like to see what happens.
I would even go so far as to say that, and I know we're recency bias, we're living in the moment. It was a dreadful, dreadful fourth quarter, and I think people, this is the most sobering I have heard the Kevin Stefanski conversation, because the people that hate him already hated him, whatever, this is just another log on the fire. But even his supporters, I feel like, are either jumping ship or on the verge of jumping ship. And I got to tell you, from people that I heard that made this trip to London, you got to remember, when you go to London, it is not just a celebration of American football overseas. It's also Jimmy Haslam, VIPs, special invited guests, the richest season ticket holders, the people that have the best seats, that have the disposable income to make a trip like that and spend tens of thousands of dollars and who knows, upwards of that. And then you also have your partners, the people that really spend the money to make the business flourish, that support the Browns, right? Can you imagine Jimmy Haslam, who had all these events with the VIPs and the Browns people? And I saw it on Instagram. I had people text me, like, there were some big-time hobnobbing luminaries that were there that support the team. And then there were just, normal fans that spent their life savings to go on this trip. You imagine Jimmy Haslam leaving and boarding the private jet back to Cleveland. Mm-hmm. What he was thinking of his head coach. after that moment. The only standalone game the Browns have all year, meaning the entire country that cares about football, was dialed into that game, and they saw a head coach who not only seemed to melt down late, right? Then they have a post-game press conference. We didn't make a big deal of this because people don't care about the media, whatever. He had his shortest press conference he's ever had. It was 4 minutes. He didn't answer any questions. He literally did not answer like, hey, give us a window into your thinking about what happened with the timeouts. He didn't give any explanation. Jimmy Haslam was watching that press conference. If he wasn't in the room, he was right next to it. He knows everything that was said. He didn't get any answers from his head coach. I just think that game has a chance to resonate in a big way with the Browns brass. That might be for the first time. Jimmy Haslam, who's been a supporter, who gave him an extension. I think it might have been the first moment in time where he's like, might not have the right coach. We might be doing a coaching search again. I really think
that's a strong thing to say. Now, I know what Jeff had said yesterday where he's starting to get a stealing feeling about all that, and apparently there were other people texting him that they were starting to get a stealing feeling about it, and I thought, good God, could we be in a wild mode coming up yesterday afternoon? Didn't end up being that way. I think Kevin Stefanski will certainly make it till the end of the year. I'd be surprised if they jettisoned him beforehand. But again, the question still matters. If he were hired this offseason to be a head coach of another team, would you have a lump in your throat? I think maybe you'd have a lump in your throat just because you have a long memory and you feel it might be Brown's luck. But do you feel that you would have a lump in your throat like, oh, Kenny, my God, we've made a tremendous mistake?
Kenny, I think if you asked fans if Pittsburgh parted ways with Mike Tomlin at the end of the year and they said, we're hiring Kevin Stefanski, do you think anybody here would be like, whoa, like the LeBron meme?
I got to tell you, depending on the organization, it's a great meme. Depending on the organization, I might be concerned. If it's Pittsburgh who went out and hired him, I'd go, okay, they've hired 3 head coaches in the last 60 years. If they went out and they hired Kevin Stefanski, I would go, God, did we make another mistake? I would do that. I'm not lying to you. But if the New York Jets were to fire Aaron Glenn after this year, which they weren't set up for success anyway, but it's the Jets. If the Jets went out and fired Aaron Glenn and they came out this January and said, we're hiring Kevin Stefanski, nope. I got no feelings because I don't think they would do right by him. And I don't think he would be effectual for an organization like that. If the Dolphins went out and got him, I don't think I would feel that one way or another about that. There's some teams that, I might feel that way. Pittsburgh's one of them, but I got to tell you, I think it's probably in the handful now. I think he can be and has been a good coach, but I also know that there is a time where sometimes there needs to be a change in voice. Sometimes there needs to be a change in leadership. Sometimes there's a lot of times I feel, and you've known this as well, we look at coaches who get fired as losers. When you see these guys in it, I'm talking high school, college, and pro, there's plenty of good coaches who get fired due to circumstance. It's run its course. It's time for a break. It's time for this to go in another direction. And they go on and they either achieve moderate success somewhere else or they achieve great success somewhere else. Or, you know what, maybe it's just another misfire and they really are a bad head coach. Every now and then there's really a real bad head coach that gets fired, and rightfully so, and that's the way it works. But man, if you told me this winter that he were to be the head coach of the Raiders, maybe I'd feel that way because Tom Brady, and I have a lot of respect for what Tom Brady probably feels about football. I might feel that way, but I'd be going, well, they got a long way to go too. I probably would do that. I got to tell you, looking at the thing, I don't want to turn this into list radio here, but looking at it, I could probably name you about 5 teams that I would kind of go, oh boy. Really? If Andy Reid were to retire and they handed it right over to Kevin Stefanski, I'd probably still, even at 2-3 right now, and the walls are coming in on the Chiefs with how we feel about them, I'd probably go, oh boy. I mean, you got a really good quarterback there, and if you build it the right way, you're going to have more going for you. But man, I think that's a circumstance with anybody, though. If the Chiefs, if Andy Reid retired today and they went out and they decided to hire, name an assistant that's well known, whoever you want. For a second, I want to say Kellen Moore, but he's the head coach of the Saints. Naming anybody, you'd go, oh, well, they're going to probably be formidable. They know what they're doing. So I think it's Kevin Stefanski or head coach X. And if I can't say, there's been times where I've pounded the table and said this would be a mistake, a total terrible mistake. guys, I can't pound the table anymore. I thought that Sunday was a desperate day, and it started to reek more of it as time went on. And even if he's powerless in this situation, then that's still going to fall on him. I like Kevin. I like him personally. We all know that. But man, I'm struggling to find the really good things to get in people's faces and say that this is a terrible mistake for them to do this. I'm running out of gas for it.
I know. I'm with you too, and it's hard to believe, but eventually, eventually you've got to do more with less, right? Like that's what we say about Kyle Shanahan all the time.
And honestly, and I'm thinking about this, like again, our timelines are different from maybe their timelines. So people, when they hear the term quarterback, they might shudder at the thought because they probably have watched every quarterback and there's not a QB that they like. Certainly because the big names that we brought up aren't doing very well this year in college. That's a fair assessment. If you go out and you do make sure that you get a quarterback, do we want to do this where a coach who's definitely going to start next season on the hot seat there? Do we want to do that all over again? We did that before with Hugh. We know how much that can stunt somebody's growth. We know how much we look around the league, how much that can bother a young quarterback that way. Like, things have got to pick up because I think that yesterday or Sunday could have been a point. That's such a long plane ride back. You have been on this defense the entire time, and now you're starting to get people there were people definitely who called in yesterday. They want to blame the defense. And if you're one of these guys on this defense where you're going, see NFL. I'm holding. What's the average of points? They're scoring more points because you're turning the ball over. That's why you made the change. Look at the yards they're giving up. Look at the defensive stands that they're making. Look at the game that they won for you against Green Bay, who could be a Super Bowl contender. And if you're one of these guys, I don't need to name names. Think of any of them. If you're one of these guys riding back in the plane, you're probably sitting there going, man, we're going to do this again. We're going to just blame us for this, huh? We're going to put us in a bad situation. We're just going to start to put this on us. Our offense can't score over 20 points in a league that's made to score points. That's what brings the fans and puts them in the stands. We can't score over 20 points again because you damn sure knows that we've talked about the term 20 points to death, that they all know about it. So that starts to sow the seeds of dissension. So yeah, it's still October, and you could still kind of get guys going, but you are going to have problems in there sooner than later if you can't get this going. And Sunday, I think, felt very desperate to me. And maybe it's not the end, but you start to see it really in earnest for the first time in probably ever. You want the truth? I gave you the truth. Not that it matters to you guys. There's some folks in some bad places right now with the Cleveland Browns, and when they hear him, it puts them in a worse place. I told a guy, can I tell you this right now? I told a longtime listener yesterday on social media, because I had to look at this, I go, wait a minute. Like, you said yesterday that Joe Flacco would have won the game for us, and I flatly disagreed with you, and it got a lot of reaction on social media, a lot of negative reaction on social media. And I flatly told a longtime listener, I go, you know what? We got to remember what this is about. If you call in and want to argue about quarterbacks, fine. But I'm not going to start. The internet's taken in a different way, and I do look at the listeners as a relationship, and I think you do too. I don't want to look back on this 10 years from now and know that I got in some knockdown drag out with a person I probably like over Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I don't want to do it. If you guys wanted to sit there, I mean, you think about this. The Baker stuff, the guy was number one overall. The revisionist history is there. There's a lot of deleted tweets from some of the Baker fans out there, and there's a lot of people who've done a flip-flop and hope that you don't find old opinions on it. Lima, you haven't shied away from it. The only part that I'll ever defend myself on is I did not want to trade for Deshaun Watson. That said, that guy's worth arguing about. Number one overall, that's worth arguing about. This upcoming draft, you got the number 2 pick right now. I know it's only October. You got the number 2 pick right now. That's worth arguing about. I can't imagine telling a stranger, forget you, don't listen, don't want over Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. I can't know. I hope it never comes to that. I hope I never get worked into a shoot over something like that, because this seems to be insane. And I think when it comes to the head coach of the football team, damn, man, what are we holding on to? Because I've loved to defend him for a long time. I like Freddie. But I got to the point where I go, I can't defend Freddie.
Well, we never defend Freddie.
No. I want to defend Freddie at first. When they won that Bills game, and Josh Allen threw it all over the place, but none of it was to a receiver way back in the day, and the first call of the box was to fire Freddie. I felt defensive of Freddie. I liked Freddie. Wished him well. He's on another bad staff that's completely lost already, but I liked Freddie. I want to defend Kevin. I like Kevin. But there reaches a point where it's like, I can't. You're doing things that if I didn't know you, I would be critical of you. So I have to be critical. I'm not going to be mean-spirited about it. I try not to be mean-spirited about anything. But damn it, like...
that 3rd and 11 play was time to get mean-spirited.
I don't need to be mean-spirited because it lacks common sense. That's the issue that I had.
Because you're like,
I might be mean-spirited because I'm loud.
That?
Yes. The first two, you got it with Quinshon Judkins. Okay, you're going to put it in your defense's hands. And why I get weirded about that, fine, you go right on ahead. You're going to either take the clock down or you're going to cost them a first down or cost them their final timeout. Either way, we're going to line up, we're going to play defense, and you're going to try to put it in the hands of your defense. Fine, I'll live with it. But when you, in the post game, or not the post game, but yesterday, when he talks about the final drive, and you're trying to gain yards, you're trying to get the first down, and you're trying to hold on to the ball. You didn't do any of those things. And now you're 1-4. And your fan base has little confidence in you. I can't imagine what his approval rating would be. I can't imagine what that would be. And again, I don't like to call for guys to be fired. But when I can't give a vigorous defense of it and I'm afraid it's going to get worse, folks, read between it. Because I don't think that pro football teams or pro sports teams want to fire guys. I really think that the vast majority, save Al Davis and George Steinbrenner and a couple of people. I think the vast majority of organizations, they don't want to talk about firing people. They hired them for a reason. They want to be right in that. So the Browns don't want to talk about firing the guy, but they may have to reach a conclusion where this can't continue. This can't go. And the London trip for so many teams is a watershed. And I didn't think yesterday he was going to get let go. Like Jeff brought it up on the air. He thought he was feeling that he could get fired yesterday. And I said, I think that's a little premature. I got to disagree with Jeff. I think he'll make it through the season. But if this continues, if I'm saying this on October 7th, I can't imagine where I'll be on November 7th and December 7th.
Yeah, especially if it continues.
And I may just reach a point where, guys, it's right in front of us, and I might be apathetic towards it and ready to talk all the Cavs in the world, which we did at 640. You can go back and listen on the free Odyssey app. 216-474-0092. Tim in Cleveland, you're first up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, so if you're a fan of the Tennessee Titans or the Carolina Panthers, who are probably going to be in the head coaching market next year, is anyone calling their radio stations, pounding the table down there for Kevin Stefanski to come in and take over as their head coach?
Because of the last season, no.
Last two seasons.
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like, they're going to look at what happened this last couple of years, and they're going to go, no, absolutely not. And remember, those fan bases, think about this too, Tim. Lima, you're going to be really annoyed by this because you have hated the revisionist history. What's everybody and their brother saying about the guy who's leading the MVP race right now? He got away from us, and what's he doing? So now you're not going to want the guy who let that guy go, and now you're going to put him in charge of your football team with, what were the two teams you mentioned there, Tim?
Carolina and Tennessee, who are probably going to have head coaching vacancies. Yeah. Well, here's my other question.
And you'll be holding on to Cam Ward in one of those spots. Go right on ahead, Tim.
Okay, we always frame Stefanski as the guy who got rid of Baker. Why don't we ever talk about how he's the guy who ruined Deshaun Watson? Watson was the top 7 quarterback in the NFL before he came to Kevin Stefanski. They had 3 seasons to figure it out on how to get the guy going. Completely failed, and now we're in this position with Dylan and Shador and Joe, and it's a mess.
In that case,
laying down Deshaun.
In that case,
and
Tim,
I'm not a Deshaun guy, by the way. I didn't want him either.
That's fine. Yeah, that's well. No, because I said yesterday, I can't put it all on Deshaun Watson. I think it's easy to, but I can't. But I think in that case, over the last 3 years, and Tim, thank you for the call. I think they've tried everything over the last 3 years. I think that is more on Deshaun Watson. Now there very well could be other coaches that could get more out of him.
That is interesting. Bill
O'Brien. If this is all true, Bill O'Brien did do a decent job of getting. Why didn't we go get Bill O'Brien? All pro level play out of him?
Honestly, I put up But if anybody wants to peruse, there's no reason we don't have to dwell on it on here on the radio. But I've been talking about the revisionist history on Baker. Like, I put up where his placement was every year in the Mike Sando quarterback tiers, where he samples 50 executives and coaches every year. And Baker, what makes his story so awesome and so amazing, not here in Cleveland, but just for him personally, and as anybody that likes a great, what would you call it, where you salvage something in sports.
Reclamation
project, exactly.
Well, I'm giving you the word.
Where he has gone from almost out of the league to where he is today. Like Watson, like the two curves, they're going in opposite directions, because Watson 2 straight years was number 5 on those same quarterback tiers. Number 5 in the league.
But there were things that you didn't want to see that some people said were writing on the wall before that, even before he got here, that you didn't want to believe, because you thought that people were just, and I did too, I thought people were just mad at him, for everything that he was accused of. And I didn't want to make up things because I was not wanting to trade for the guy. I had my questions about coming out in college. I mean, if we're going to do revisionist history, let's do the revisionist history of it. I think that a lot of it was emotional. I didn't think he wanted to be here. I think he only came here for money. And I think that played into his psyche of playing for this football team. If he would have played in say if Atlanta would have really been able to make the move.
You think he still would be good?
I don't think he would be good, because I think his body is failing him.
Okay.
I mean, these are big injuries now. And if you look at his history, he's had some serious injuries. So I think his body would still be failing him. But I think Arthur Smith is a better offensive mind than people give him credit for. Maybe he would have been marginally better than what he is here. I can't put it all and say that Kevin is the reason, but I certainly can't just continue to stick my head in the sand and say that Kevin is some sort of bystander to Deshaun Watson, who ruined this offense. No, that's irresponsible. Because I got a hell of a lot more of a track record with Kevin than I would Deshaun Watson. Man, I'm in a bad spot. And I would love for them to go out on Sunday and this team to play inspired and Dylan to play good and then win in Pittsburgh and then have to calm me down a little bit, because I don't like firing anybody. But when you do things like that, it comes off desperate and it comes off silly and it comes off in a way that I don't think you even wanted the guy to play. I think you played him before you needed to. Not that anybody forced your hand. I think the writing was on the wall and you said, fine, I guess we're going to go ahead and play him.
I think you would have rather played Kenny Pickett.
I think you would have rather played Kenny Pickett on Sunday, yeah. Because, man, you go back and look at that, and I watched it twice yesterday. You want to talk about conservative offense? Holy potatoes. It was Woody Hayes, 3 yards and a cloud of dust.
In 2025.
Kevin in Missouri, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Kevin.
Hey, guys. How we doing? Good morning.
Doing all right, Kevin. Go ahead.
I've never been really one to call for anyone's job, because I put him in my shoes. Like, if someone was calling for me to get fired, that would kind of suck.
Exactly.
But I've been on the Kevin Stefanski train for solid 6 years now, and I keep making the excuse of it's not the player, it's not the coach. The players have to execute. Sunday, I think they executed to the best of their abilities. I think they did what they could do with the game plan they were given. And in that fourth quarter, when running the ball was working, slants to tight ends was working, we stopped doing all of it. And it's just that has happened more times than it should have. Things are working, we stop doing them, we lose games in the last couple of minutes. And there seems to be one common factor here. It's not Baker Mayfield, it's not Nick Chubb. I think it's Kevin Stefanski.
Kevin, again, and thank you for the call. Like I don't want to dissuade calls, but I think a lot of people are starting to draw the same. I can't say conclusions yet, but I think they're starting to draw the same parallels that I am. Like, how long can I continue to find examples before they become excuses? And I keep going over that, and I go, if he would have done what I think a lot of us thought he should have done, and then it would have been put into the defense's hands, and maybe Lance Reisland will say something differently today at 6 o'clock on afternoon drive. He's a good football coach, and I respect him greatly, and I know he disagrees with me. But if he can explain that differently, we'll re-examine that tomorrow. But you had a defense, And there were plenty of people who did want to line up and say, oh, you got one of the highest paid defenses in the NFL. You got Mr. MVP, defensive MVP over there, where I'm going, yeah, he's getting double teamed, because you know that when they only got two offensive linemen that are actual starters, they're going to make sure 95 can't beat him, but no one wants to talk about that. It would have been harder for me to make excuses. But now I look at it and go, you didn't do everything you could. And you could have done more to help your defense. To help your defense put themselves in a position to try to go out and win that football game. And you didn't do that. And I struggle to rectify with that, because guys make mistakes here and there. But when this happens, and it's happened after a 3-14 season and a season that's now 1-4, that grates on you. That's got to grate on the team. Ron in East Cleveland, you're next up on the Fan. Ron drop. Brad in San Diego, California. You're next up on the Fan. Hello.
Hey, good morning, guys. I want to ask two questions. One, I want to know, when I read Orlovsky's tweet, I really took that more as not necessarily as a head coach, but as an offensive coordinator. And so, what would your thoughts be if Kevin Stefanski were fired today, and next season he's the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh instead? What would your thoughts be there? And then my second thing is, I think, to be honest with you, I think it's time for an energy change as well. And when you look at Jimmy, he tends to overcorrect or definitely go the opposite of what he's done historically. And so his last three head coaches have been all new first-time head coaches. What would this roster and this team look like today? What would our record look like today if John Gruden were our head coach?
I think you have a better chance of you or me being the head coach than John Gruden being the head coach of the Browns.
Why is that?
Because he's currently in litigation still with the NFL, and if you listen to
he's blacklisted?
No, but if you listen to
wasn't that just resolved? Like
it's in the case. It's in the current standing of it. But if I listen to Trey Wingo of it, I mean, I don't think that John Gruden. I think that they are not in, because you have all those emails that have gone out, and I listened to Trey Wingo talk about it here, Brad. And you have all the emails. I think John Gruden's an angry person who doesn't like that a couple of his emails went out there. I think that he's a guy that I think would step right into a college football program somewhere, and I think he would enjoy it. I don't think that he wants to be back in the NFL, and I think that the NFL, in a lot of ways, doesn't want him back in the league.
Gotcha. What would you think about this Kevin Stefanski being an offensive coordinator? Because I think
that's what he's going to be next.
I think that's what Orlovsky was more talking about. I'm not sure he was talking about head coach.
See, I disagreed. I thought that he was talking exactly about head coach, because it was in response to a person tweeting. And Brad, thank you for the call. It was directly in response to a person tweeting about the head coach. Like Jeff Lloyd, who does cover the Browns, said, quote, Kevin Stefanski should be fired, end quote. This is a tweet, right? And he's going after people saying that. Quote, Kevin Stefanski should be fired after putting the game in the hands of the number one defense in the NFL against Carson Wentz and an offensive line missing 4 starters 80 yards from pay dirt. Some of you are all nuts. And Dan Orlovsky said, go ahead, fire him. He'll be hired day one by someone else. When it's in reference to a head coach, I took it as a head coach. Maybe it's wrong, because the natural order of things would be he'd be an offensive coordinator somewhere else.
And he will get a job.
I think he would be a head coch again in the NFL, the same way Pat Shurmur was a head coach again in the NFL. And again, who was I making those comparisons to yesterday and after that post-game press conference? Sounded a lot like, well, you could run it or you can throw it.